Okay, well, today we're gonna be looking at rounding or approximation. Oh, sorry, that was my phone. So rounding is actually useful in a lot of situations. For example, like when we are working with population or the number of people in a certain area, you can't cut people in half, that kind of stuff. Also, let's say if you're working with maybe like fruit, let's say you can't say usually 1/8 of an apple. Like let's say if you're counting them as a whole, not you can say you can cut a half of an apple, but let's say if you're counting, by dozens or whatever, you can't say half of an apple. So this is when we use approximation or rounding the numbers. So a rounding numbers involves rounding them to a certain value or a certain place value. So let's say if let's give us an example: 223 and 546. So let's say, for example, that we want to round this number to the nearest to its nearest number, which is 6 or 5. So we actually take a look at this number right here. And if this number is, we want to see if it's smaller or if it's bigger, basically, than 5. So we're looking at it. If it's smaller or bigger than 5. And in this situation is actually smaller than 5. So when that happens, we actually just we rewrite the number like 223, 500. So we zero out these numbers and we keep the number as 5. But let's say if this number was 5, if that number was 5, then we'd actually rewrite the numbers 223 and 6. Because what that means is now it's closer to 6. So we're rounding this number, and then we have to look at this number, and if it is greater or smaller than 5. And that's pretty much it for rounding. And let's do an example. So let's say if we want to round this number. If we want to round this number to the nearest tens, remember this is the ones. So tens and ones. So we got to look at this number to see if it's bigger or smaller than 5. And as we can see, it's actually bigger than 5. So we would actually have to round it to the nearest 3. There you go. And that's rounding. Thank you, and thank you for watching, and subscribe if you want to, like or dislike. Happy studying.